Hello again, I'm Drenorta, and welcome back to part 2 of the Mad Max review for the PlayStation 4. As you can probably tell, Mad Max has changed a little bit in appearance. That's because we are right now at the end of the game. The Mad Max you saw before was Mad Max right at the beginning of the game. This is after the game story is all finished, said and done. The game isn't finished, the game is huge. There's a million bajillion side quests and things to do. But the main story's done, so to avoid any spoilers, I've gone from right after we've finished the main story. And, yeah. One of the things I really like to see in video games is when you upgrade your armour, for example, which in Mad Max's case is his jacket, you get a visual representation of that, so something actually changes, and as you can see, it does. You get all sorts of different jackets up to, the last one there, which if anyone's seen any of the original films, you'll recognise. Same story here for the wrist armour. You will notice some things are still locked, and that's because just because I finished the game doesn't mean that I get given everything, or the ability to unlock everything. There are still certain criteria that have to be met for certain things. For example, there's a legend rank you'll notice on the left there. That's basically how much of a legend you are, how renowned you are, so the more people you help, the more of an impression you make, the more bad guys you kill, all impacts on your legend rank, and the higher that is, the more stuff that becomes available to buy. It unlocks things, basically. So that's kind of an awesome little thing that I didn't notice when I first started playing the game. The knuckle dusters that upgrade Max's fist damage, obviously, range from, I reckon that'd sting a bit, to, oh my god, why? You can change how Max's face looks visually if you want, so you can give him a bandana, goggles, beards, huge beards. Ooh. If you want him to look like a lumberjack, that's up to you. I quite like the medium hair length and goggles. That one will do for me. Shotguns, similar story. You can just keep adding barrels and how quickly they reload until you end up with the one I like, which is just Max's iconic shotgun. So if you've seen any of the early films, you'll recognise that. So an off-double barrel piece of death. We've unlocked a bunch more skills, which I will show you later when we're beating the heavy living daylights out of some poor bastard. Collectibles is fairly representative of how much of the game you've unlocked. So as you can tell, like I said, I've played through the entire campaign, and I'm not even halfway there. Like, I was 10% of camps. And I didn't exactly just blast the storyline either. I kept getting distracted and doing things that I probably shouldn't have been doing that early on in the game. But yeah, that's what you do in these kind of games. And even though I kept getting distracted by stuff and going off and doing other little bits and bobs and things, I've still not even really scratched the surface, as you can tell. I've almost completely upgraded Max's abilities by giving the Griffer tokens to Griffer. Or, well, I've at least almost upgraded all the ones that matter anyway. There's a couple I've not really bother with because they don't make much of a difference. Like, you don't come across foods so often in the game that it's worth upgrading the food one before, say, upgrading your overall health. So that one's always going to take priority. But you know, it's still something to upgrade later on when you've got spare tokens, I suppose. You may also remember me talking about how vastly upgradable the cars were. So you'll remember my car looking like this, and it now looks like this. Yeah, little bit of a difference. Mean fucking machines that you can build in this game. You can build some ridiculous looking things. There are also Archangels that I don't think I mentioned before. These are basically blueprints for pre-builds of cars that your engineer already has. And if you get all said parts, he will just build you that instantly, and they're quite purpose-built, like you'll use that in a race, for example, but it's got no defense or armor. So you can build these for you at any point if you have the corresponding parts, which is kind of neat. The only downside to that is as soon as he's built that, it deletes the car that you made. And as far as I can tell, there is no way of saving your builds, which is a mistake. You know, like, you need to be able to save it, because you can create some fantastic creations. I mean, look at the state of this thing. It's like something Sonic could build on steroids. But you can't save that, as far as I'm aware. So I can't just go back to one that I had already. There's no Archangel builds of my own. I can't make my own blueprints, which I want. Like, if there's a way they could add that, that'd be great, because I've done it a few times where I've changed over to other things and then completely forgot how I'd assembled my favourite vehicle to begin with. And it took me a while to get back to it. Just, you know, it throws off things like handling, and it feels wrong. And it's just a shame. It just needs to be in there. It just needs to be in there. You will notice on the map now there is a lot more things unlocked, a lot more little icons dotted about the place, and these are just things to do, people to kill, stuff to rip down, shit to blow up. You know, there's just a lot more. Oh, and jumps. We like the jumps. And there's two ways of unlocking those. You either have to be in close proximity to them, so you can find them sort of out and about on your travels, or B, you can find them by going up in a balloon. And these are basically the evolution of sort of Far Cry's radio towers, or Warner Brothers' own Forge towers from their Shadow of Mordor game. They're not exactly the same, but they're very much inspired by those. But they're their own thing. They're all... Oh, shit, that crow made me jump. Right, focus. Collect the scrap. That threw me. That genuinely threw me. I forgot what I was saying. Yes, so yeah, they're like those, but not exactly the same. So each one is a puzzle in its own way. Sometimes it'll just be a big old fight. Other times there'll be things to climb, like this one. Did I get that one down? So what I mean by evolution of is they're just a little bit more. You're just a little bit more involved in all of these. Are we going to go? There we go. So yeah, not only are the puzzles a little bit more diverse and can be a little bit more interesting, it can also get a bit repetitive, but all these things can. They're just sort of a necessary evil. They make it a little bit more interesting to open up the map. Yeah, you actually solve the puzzle, get the gas, you get to literally take the balloon up, and when you're up there it doesn't just go, oh look at all the things in this area, you then have to scope it out using your binoculars. So you look around yourself and find all the different things and places to visit. They should be marked out by little white bips, and then they pop up and tell you what they are. See, these things I've already found whilst I've been going about the place, so I might have found them all, actually. This might be a terrible example. So, yes, I've already found everything in this area, but that's how you do that, and then when you've done with that, close your binoculars, and you can have a look around for real and see everything you've highlighted. And usually if you've found anything at that point, it pops over to your map and shows you everything that you found popping up on your map and where it is, so you can instantly highlight it and go and find the bits you want to find. I'm going to go and take on that top dog camp, I think. Difficulty 3, that's not too bad. The downside of this is you actually have to wait for the balloon to come back down again, so yeah, twiddle your thumbs. This is a big camp. There are 2 stages to taking down camps. One, take out the outside defences, so the perimeter defence. You have to try and do that quickly, because if that perimeter alert, that bar at the top middle there, goes all the way up, then they go into sort of overdrive, and you're in trouble then. They take some getting rid of. Come on, there we go. Yep, like now I'm in trouble, because it's just gone crazy. See, now it's firing out 3 at a time. It's firing them one after another, like it doesn't need to reload. It's, oh, there. Oh, they're all dead. Is there anyone left? Snipers. You do have a sniper rifle, but you can only use it whilst it's... Oh, did not mean to do that. You can only use it in your own car. God damn it. Let's see if I can take these out before they take me out. That did it. See, what I should have done is scoped it out first, tagged people, picked a few off with a sniper rifle, and then got in with a harpoon gun and ripped everything down. But I felt confident that we were armoured enough to take a couple of hits, so I just sort of went for it. I think the only thing they've got left in terms of perimeter defence, yeah, is that flamethrower. Which is, you know, usually there's something like that about that's fueling it, and if you rip that down... Come on. Turns off the flamethrower. So that's all the perimeter defences are all done with now. So now we should just be able to walk in and start punching... Stop throwing rocks at me. And we've broke his neck. Drama queen. Got him. Break his arms. Oh, I've gone crazy. I've gone into rage mode. This is when you just do ridiculous amounts of damage and... Oh! Kicked his heart out of his chest. So there are different camps that have... They benefit you in different ways to take them down. They all lower the threat in the area you're in, but they don't just do that. They don't just do that. Some of them will award you scrap. Some of them will award different things. These are the most. These have the most influence over any area, and these are the things you want to take down the most. Some of that. Some of that. Some of that. Catch that. Break that. Kick that. Oh, that was close. Good day. How are you still alive? Yeah, what he said. The button to interact with things is also the button to drop weapons and stuff. That can get a little bit frustrating in the same way that the button to throw gas canisters is also the same button to fire shotgun. So if you tap it too many times, you will blow your face off. That happened to me a few times before I realised what I was doing wrong.
So you've killed your way here, just so I can pleasure myself with your twitching corpse.
Ew. Holy crap. Okay, I wasn't expecting that. These are the boss fights. The fire is as dangerous to them as it is to you. So, you know, bear that in mind. Fuck. He's knocked me head off. Knocked his head off. Come on. Come at me. Come at me. Punch him in the nose. Shiv him in the back. Ooh, that'll leave a mark. Shiv him again. These boss fights are all kind of the same. There are 2 types of main boss fight in this game. There's the nippy little agile ones. And then there's these big buggers. Just make sure you've got plenty of shivs. They're also quite allergic to shotgun bullets. Oh, oh, oh. That'll do it. And he's dead. That's a boss fight. That's a top dog camp. At the end of every top dog camp, you have to kill one of those big buggers. The arenas vary, like they're the most interesting thing about it, but the fights with the boss guys are generally you know, kind of the same. Could have done with a bit more variety in that aspect, but I'm not complaining too much because, you know, they're good. And there's not too many of those fights, so they don't really get a chance to get too repetitive. There are so many iconic characters in the series, in the series of films, that you'd think they could have reused some of them. Like, at some point, I would have liked to have been able to kick the crap out of someone, even slightly resembling Master Blaster would have been awesome. But you know, it's like I said, it's its own thing. So there are plenty of other nods to the films in this game. Like they are freaking everywhere. Meet Pinata, where all you win is innards. You'll find these on your rounds. They're history relics, and they are sort of haunting, actually. They're a look at what, like, you start to take the world a little bit for granted, and these really start to show you, like, what everyone's lost. It brings it home a bit, like how much shit's gone wrong, but it never really tells you exactly what went wrong. You just know something has, and the world's ending, and everyone's very unhappy about it. There's a day-night cycle, but it moves really slowly, like compared to most games that we can actually see the shadows moving as the sun goes across the sky. You don't get that so much with this game, because, I mean, well, look. I mean, it's moving, but it's barely moving. Like, the day-night cycle, I don't know exactly how long it lasts, but it's a lot longer than in most games. There are some downsides to that, because there are some missions that you have to do at night, and, you know, it can get a bit waiting around. There's no way to speed that up apart from sort of fast travelling around the place. But I kind of prefer it. I like it. I like that it's not rushed. It makes it feel that little bit more real. You start to get into it being nighttime by the time it's nighttime, and stuff happens at nighttime that doesn't happen in the daytime, so you get more chance to experience that without it just being like someone flicking a light switch on and off. Thank you. Now we're going to try and find a convoy. Convoys are like large groups of very dangerous vehicles. Destroying them quite significantly lowers the threat level in any area, whatever area they're patrolling, and awards quite a lot of scrap, so they're worth taking down, but they're not always easy to take down, depending on what area they're in. Some are tougher than others, so I have no idea what level this one's going to be at, but we'll find out. Dust cloud in the distance, I can see him. Yes, if you take out the head of the convoy as well, a lot of the time they have these hood ornaments attached to them, and the only way to collect them all is by taking out all the convoys. Oh! That was almost surgical levels of precision. Just took out the head of the convoy, and I'm gone. Bugger off. Yeah, I'm covered in spikes. That was never going to end well for you, Mr. Jumpy. Shot his wheel off. Right, now where did I leave that hood ornament? There she blows. And now we have a new thing. It says, do you want to install the hood ornament? But there is no way of finding out what, because hood ornaments give you status like upgrades, like they'll boost your defense or your handling or, you know, something like that. It doesn't tell you what they do, and then ask if you want to install it. And I don't know why anybody would install it not knowing what it does. So no, the answer is always going to be no. You'll probably not be able to tell because I upload all my videos at 30 frames per second. But this actually runs at above 30 frames per second. And it usually sticks above 30 frames per second. I've had a couple of moments where there's been slowdown. Nothing game breaking. There was one huge glitch where the game just went into huge amounts of slowdown and almost came to a complete halt. But I reloaded it and it was absolutely fine. And it's not happened again. So, you know, it was still early days for this game. There's going to be a few little bugs here and there. Like enemies flying off into space, you know, just weird little things. Some of the sound disappeared for a while. No, the game wouldn't make any sounds for explosions. So the shotgun didn't make a sound when I shot it, which was odd. And I'm trying to think what else. Oh, the sound went out of sync, which just in the cutscenes for a little while, which was really irritating because I was on one of the final cutscenes of the game and I didn't want it to be ruined because I was kind of got really into the story. So I had to turn it off and on again and do the last mission all over again, just so it didn't ruin it. But again, that's only ever occurred once. So a few little bugs here and there, nothing game breaking, and I assume there'll be a patch along shortly. These larger places marked out on your map that are also fast travel points are your safe houses, basically, and these are where you'll take a lot of your main missions from. Some of the bigger characters, ones with more personality, are in there, and they are upgradable. The more you help the people out by doing certain activities and investing in their base as such, the more the bases upgrade. And again, it's another one of those things that's well, I'll show you. Yeah, this is an example of a base that's in no way been upgraded. This is just as it is when you get there. Little fiery fellow over there, and there's not a lot going on. Not many people around. Everyone's very depressed. Nobody trusts you. And here is a base that's been fully upgraded. This is one of your earlier bases. This is Jeet's Stronghold. As you can see now, there's buildings around. There's people doing stuff. There's a lot more people. There's children, so they're breeding. It still looks a bit rough because you're still in a dying world, but it shows like the positive impact you've had on them. And people like you here. They'll say nice things about you whilst you walk around. They upgrade in about 4 intermittent stages, and how you get the base to upgrade visually is by unlocking these. These are projects. These are, originally there's nothing here, they'll just be like a silhouette of the thing you need to build. You click on it, it marks out on the map where the parts are that you need to find to build the thing, and they're always in the territory of the stronghold that they're needed for. So yeah, you go out, find the parts, come back, build the things, and then the base starts to look better. You know, the people benefit from the success, and these things benefit you. Like, for example, that one will automatically fill up your ammo belt every time you come back here. There's another one that'll fill up your water, your fuel, your health. You know, they're very, 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 very handy things to have. And you can also invest your own scrap. That's like the final thing to do, is invest a certain amount of scrap is basically currency. So money back into the base via these got stuck on a bin there, via these stockpiles. Here is the scrap, that's about 500, that's 1,000, that's 1,500, so it's about 2 grand's worth of scrap altogether. So you have to invest a lot of scrap in them, but when you do that, you upgrade the base to its final stage, and you get to see them in all the glory. Which is just really nice. Like I said, I like visual representations of things. You feel like you're having an effect on the world. You're really making a difference, and the more of a difference you make, the more the people like you, or the enemies hate you. You know, it's all very visceral. It's all very Mad Max. You don't just have to use your vehicles or the Archangels either. You can also use vehicles. You remember in the last video, I realised you could steal enemy vehicles. If you get them back to your base without getting them blown up, you get to keep them. You can just respawn them as many times as you want, which is really fun and interesting. It kind of reminds me of Crimson Skies I've been playing a lot of lately, where you can get your planes back to the blimp, and you've probably never played that, but if you have, you'd know what I was talking about. And they're good for different types of things, like some of them have just got interesting weapons, one of them there drops mines, and you can get them involved in all sorts of different races and things, and just learning how different vehicles handle and all the craziness that comes with them. It's a lot of fun. And on top of that, there are legendary vehicles hidden around the map, and they usually hidden really well, and those things have just got like ridiculous stats. I found one called the 12 something, I've forgotten now, that's just insanely fast, can't handle for shit, but goes insanely fast, and they're hidden in some really obscure locations. Like, you won't find those just randomly by bumping into them. Usually you have to really search them. You have to find people that give you information on them, and then try and work out what they meant by that and where to go. So, you know, the Pokemon fan in me just can't leave those alone. I freaking love those. I'd like to scroll down and show you some of them, but if I did, then the smarter of you would be able to figure out from some of the vehicles that I've unlocked what happens in the story later on at certain stages. And like I said, I don't want to ruin any of that for anyone, so unfortunately I'll stay away from that for now. But just know there is a lot of, if you like cars and content, it's got plenty of that kind of crap. I didn't notice this until I was about halfway through the game, because I didn't bother to read the instruction manual, but if you double click down, you can play this game like it was intended. Imagine playing this with the Oculus Rift or Project Morpheus. Jesus wept. So you can play it from the perspective of Mad Max, from the perspective of the Road Warrior. But it's really hard to see what the hell is going on. Like, this guy is just kicking my ass now. Where is he? Shoot his wheels off. Oh, you're not going anywhere, buddy. I think I'm going to win this standoff. Yep, he's been turned to dog food. We'll wreck his car just for funsies, because fuck you. I would like to talk about the story, but it's going to be hard to talk about the story without ruining anything. So I'm just going to keep it brief and say that the story is good. If you're a fan of anything Mad Max, the story freaking nails it. Like, all the emotional states you see Mad Max go through in all 4 different films, he goes through it at some point in this game, and they've done it. They've incorporated it into their own story, but you'll recognise a lot of his behaviour and his reactions to certain situations. You get to see Mad Max when he's genuinely just angry. You get to see Mad Max when he loses his mind. You get to see Mad Max when he's actually quite logical, and you start to see why he might have survived for so long, because the cold, calculating side of Mad Max. And they've got Mad Max down to a T. They've done their homework, and they've done it proud. I've never actually turned the camera the whole way around in first-person mode whilst you're in the car before, but I assumed you were seeing it from Max's perspective. But it turns out you're actually seeing it from the perspective of somebody sat on Max's lap. Which is strange, but okay. You don't get stuck in all the bullshit environment things either, like rock in the way, smash it. Not a problem. Not a problem. One of the other ways you can tell this game was made by the Just Cause people is that there is no stealth. Like, if you get the drop on someone quick enough, you might be able to tap X and get like a one-hit finisher. But apart from that, there's no stealth, there's no cover. It is not the Mad Maxian way. Yeah, now what you're gonna do? Whoop! I'll take your shield and I'll break your neck. Ooh, ground execution. I felt that. Genuinely felt that. Epic fight. This is the best fight I've had in the game, and I just found this as a tiny little side quest. Dodge. Ooh. Yeah, there is friendly fire. They do hit their own men quite a lot. Finish him. Oh, God, even look like Cabal. The damage to Max's character model's a nice touch as well. Like, it's all bloodied and messed up and cut and stabbed. I don't even think that's his own blood. But he doesn't heal, like, fantastically quickly either. Like, that damage will stay for a long time and get better over time, progressively. It doesn't just, 1 minute it's there, then it's not. It actually sort of heals bit by bit, which just makes him look roughed up from a fight for a long time afterwards, which, again, is one of those things. It's more involving, it's more visceral. I like it a lot. There is no handbrake turn, which I find slightly odd. You don't really miss it, because you don't really need it. I've never experienced a driving game without it. The environments really, like, are worth mentioning. I know I said this in the last video, but the amount of variety that they've just managed to cram into what is essentially just desolate wastelands and desert is fucking humongous. Like, I'm massively impressed with the fact that it never gets dull, and the thought that's gone into it as well. Like, some of the places you visit, I genuinely had a proper Planet of the Apes the first time you see the Statue of Liberty moment. Really early on in this game, you get to a place called the Jaws. And whilst I was fighting my way through it, it dawned on me that I was in what was once a harbour. And then I realised that everywhere I had been, well, I should have, the boats everywhere should have been a giveaway, was what essentially was the ocean. And it had receded, and it's just decades have turned it into this mess of desert and nothing. And, oh God, I think there's a wind farm over there. Yeah, there's an offshore wind farm. It just sort of sets in like the magnitude of how much this world has changed. But you can almost start to envision what it was. You can tell the creators of this game knew exactly what the layout of this land looked like, and then imprinted their vision of what it had looked like after, decades and decades of corrosion from storms, sandstorms and things. Speaking of storms, holy shit. Drive. I wonder if I can outrun it. I can't outrun it. Usually if you hide in your car during a storm, you'll be safe. I got a feeling that I'm not safe, even in my car. Yep, definitely not safe in my car. I'm going to go first person for atmosphere. Wow, this is terrifying. I've been hit by lightning. The car's on fire. I'm on fire. Can I just hide behind the car? Oh, I've been hit by shrapnel now. Jesus wept. Yeah, here's probably safer. I think the Terminator's about to come back. Oh, God. Yep. Direct hit by lightning. How am I still alive? I need to get the fuck out of here. There's got to be somewhere safe. I'm going to hide in a ship where I won't be able to get hurt. Hopefully. I'm on fire again. I'm having a fight in a storm. Oh, God. When this game does epic, it does epic. To conclude, weather conditions, terrifying, but awesome. I touched upon enemies a little bit earlier. There are two main enemy types in the game. There are these, the Scrotus Warboys, that are the main sort of villains in the entire game, and they live above ground like you and just cause trouble and work for the main villain, the guy you're after. And then there are things called the buzzards, and they're almost not human anymore. They live underground in burrows, only come out at night. They've got glowing red eyes, and they're freaking terrifying. There is one mission where you have to go underground with the car, and I recommend you play that mission in that view. Because I played it in that view, in the dark, and it was fucking horrifying. Like, I didn't expect to be scared in a Mad Max game. It's not a horror game. I was creeping around those corridors. I was terrified of what was going to jump out. This game also rather randomly has a photo mode, where if you click down L3 and R3 at the same time, I found this by accident. I didn't even realise it was a feature in the game. Camera goes free, and you can just go around any angle, take photos. You can even record little videos, if you're doing really cool things with the car, you can record. If anyone remembers the video game Stuntman, a little bit like that, but you're completely in control of it, and it's very much on your terms. And there's filters you can add. I quite like, where is it? That one, it's called Posterize. I think that looks really good. I really like that sort of gritty comic book look it gives everything. In fact, I really, really wish there was a way in which you could apply this filter to the game and just play it with this on. I mean, I don't think I'd have liked it if the game came out just in this filter, but I'd like the option to be able to turn that on at some point. I just think that'd be really cool. So there's not much you could do with it apart from dick around. I honestly thought I would never use it, and then came back from the bar drunk one night and decided to do a series of photos I like to call Mad Max Fights the Moon. There he is, punching the moon. Punching the moon again. Shoryuken! Punching the moon again. Well, you get the idea. The way people talk in this game as well is also very interesting, like the way that, you know, language probably would have evolved, or devolved, as the case may be. So they end up saying really weird things. I think my favourite example of it is they refer to what are supposedly essentially surgeons as organic mechanics. And I can't unhear that. From now on, that's explosions. That's to how I shall refer to surgeons. See, all in all, I can admit, you know, this game's not perfect. It's got a few bugs and glitches here and there. That's going to leave a mark. Nothing epic, nothing game-breaking. The pros far outweigh the cons. Sorry, it really distracted. I get really into this combat. It looks good. And I broke his chin. Eat the dog food. Yeah, it's got a few bugs and glitches here and there, but nothing big and nothing I don't imagine they'll patch fairly quickly. I didn't find a lot that really irked me about this. You know, there wasn't a lot. It's a fairly well-polished game. There are a few, like, bullshit loading time moments that I had a real issue with where, you know, in the open world main game, there's no loading times at all. It's all fairly seamless. Moves nice and smoothly. But when you get to things like the races and things like that, it's quite easy to lose, and it's quite easy to lose very early on, which means, you know, lots of restarting and retrying. Some of them can be really difficult, and the loading times to restart those races and get back into it are dire. Like, they can be, they're just too long. That is a problem, but it's the only big problem I've got with it. And if that's the only big problem the game's got, it's you know, it's not the worst thing in the world. Like I said, the pros far outweigh the cons when it comes to problems with this game. And this is the only time I've ever found myself completely disagreeing with the Metacritic score. Usually Metacritic, it's not too bad because it takes into account everyone's scores, adds them all together to give an overall score. So it's a little bit unbiased, or at least it should be. But they've given this game a score of 70 out of 100. Which, I'm sorry, that's just wrong. I know it's mostly down to matter of opinion and people's opinions and personal preference and that kind of thing, but this game deserves more than a 7. I mean, I give it an 85, but maybe I'm being a little bit biased because they just did Mad Max so well, and I'm a huge Mad Max fan, so take that out of the equation. You know, it should definitely still have scored of at least an 80. A 70 is just not justifiable. It does not deserve that. That is bullshit. So yeah, I would disregard that score, and I would very much recommend just buying this and making your mind up yourself. Yeah, I don't necessarily expect everyone to agree with me, which is fine. Everyone's entitled to their own opinions. But even if you don't like this game as much as I did, and you're not a huge fan of Mad Max and therefore don't have rose-tinted glasses on or whatever, which I may have, I'll admit that I may have, there's still a lot of video game here. You know, it's a lot of content. It will keep you busy for a long time. So it's worth the cost. Even if you don't think it's as great as I think it is, it's worth the cost. But I do think it's that great, and I can't understand why anybody would think less of it. Like I said, not perfect, got its problems. Pros far outweigh the cons, definitely worth the cost. And on that note, since I've just wedged myself in what is essentially a dump, thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time.